Hey there, friends. Dave Paulides, Can-Am Missing Project. This is Huck L. Berry. Huck has been a very good girl today. Yes, a very good girl. Yeah, she goes, hey, this is my mug. He's a good girl. Scratch my ears, Dad. Scratch my ears. He's a good girl. Yeah, you're a good puppy. Yeah, you're a good girl. You can go back to sleep now, okay? Yeah, you can go back to sleep. I think she's comatose as it is. Friends, Missing 411 National Parks. You can rent it now on Amazon. And yes, it's a good movie. It's one of the better ones I think I've made. Please go over there, check it out, and leave a review, please. We need the reviews. Yes. And our website, missing411.com. And the rest of our movies, watch for free on Tubi, tubi.com. And that would be Missing 411, missing411.com, Missing 411 The Hunted. And those movies, still doing real well. We have millions of views on them. So we're getting the word out. Appreciated you doing that. And right now we have a lot of comments about the interviews I've done that I've posted here on the site. Most recently, L.A. Marzulli. L.A. is a great guy. And the interview I did with him has gotten a lot of comments. I have another big interview coming up in the next few days. So, yeah. All of these came off of American Sasquatch, Man, Myth, or Monster that you can watch on Amazon as well. But we could only put on 5 or 10 minutes of each interview. But most of the interviews lasted more than an hour. And they will become available quickly. I was asked to say again, we have a big cruise to Alaska, a Missing 411 side to the cruise, and a Bigfoot side to the cruise on Royal Caribbean, leaving out of Seattle, September. If you're interested, go to Gather Up, GATHERUP, Gather Up Events, and read up about it. Still, not many rooms are available. You've done a good job selling out this cruise, but there are still some available. And the cruise is going to have a couple of huge announcements in conjunction with it. I'm not going to tell you what they are. Some involve me, and the people on that cruise are going to be stunned. That's part of the gift of going, I guess. We are all arriving a day early, and there's going to be a series of events the day before the cruise. If you're in Seattle, you can participate even if you're not on the cruise, and go to Gather Up Events, and you can join in. Now, this is going to be a review of the Skinwalker Ranch show. And I've read a lot of your comments. Some of the people are making comments, and I can tell they've never even watched the show. Oh, it's phony. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. No, it's not. I know because I've worked with Prometheus, the executive producers of the show. I know them super well. No, they wouldn't fabricate this. You may think so, but that's probably because you've never dealt with them. The guys that are on this show, I know them all. I've met most of them. I've met Travis. I've met Caleb. I've communicated with others. No, they're not going to fabricate. They have too high of integrity to do it. So this show really got me going in a good way. I liked it a lot. Started off at the command center with Sky Elements. Sky Elements was the company that does drone shows at big events. They put 100, 200 drones in the sky. They pre-program them before they go up, and they'll do different aerobatic things, make different designs in the sky, etc. It's pretty cool. Well, they showed back up, and right away, unfortunately, they showed Travis, and he was really sick. Had like a cold, little cough, and he said that he wasn't going to be around the rest of the team at the beginning of the show because he didn't want to infect everybody, but he'd be off in another tent by himself. And what Sky Elements had agreed to come out and do was fly 100 drones in the sky, fly them into the triangle blob, and each drone has their own GPS and magnetometer readings on it. And the guys that own the company, I know that they're getting great publicity out of this, but it's costing them a ton of dough. A couple of years ago, they did this where they put 100 drones up, and I think 75 of them crashed onto the ground. And friends, that's expensive. Well, this time what they were going to do, something very similar. And they were going to put 100 drones up at 5-foot intervals in a checkerboard pattern in a 10 by 10 and put it up and fly it into the drone. Fly it into the blob, into the triangle area. Now, according to the FAA, you can only fly these drones up to 1,000 feet. Past that, it's not approved. Well, what they said before is that the owner of the company would talk to the FAA and try to get clearance. And son of a gun, he did. He got clearance to go to 4,000 feet. Super unreal. I'm glad they got the clearance. It should be interesting. Well, again, the last time when they put the 10 by 10 pattern up, little drones inside the circles, they would do little circles and they weren't supposed to. They were supposed to be in this real neat pattern, stationary. And they started to do little circles on their own. It's like something interrupted what they were programmed to do. The guys said they'd never seen anything like this. Now imagine if you owned a company and you were doing special shows and your drones started to act odd like that, no one would hire you. So they're risking a lot of their name to do this. And they're risking a lot of money. So Travis is going to be on his own monitoring through a spectrum analyzer on the east field. They said that before they put their 100 drones in the sky this time, they were going to send up 4 drones in a pattern, equidistance apart, fly it up, and see what happens. That's kind of a test run. Each one had GPS magnetometers. And the first flight was going to be the 4 drones up to 4,000 feet. And the reason they were doing this is that the guys said that they've never been to 4,000 feet with these drones because they never had approval to do it. So they wanted to see how they would react. And they were also going to send up 1 monitoring drone that would be outside the 4x4. Outside, actually it'd be 2x2. Outside, watching them to see if anything interfered physically. Well, as they flew up, there was immediately a 1.6 gigahertz spike that was seen by Travis. This happens all the time when they start to do things around this blob inside the triangle. And they've always had a difficult time identifying the source. Travis has the ability, and the team has the ability to transmit at 1.6, but it's never it's never them, and it's coming from that general area of the blob. So they launch the drones, they see the spike, Travis calls it out, and as they're flying up, if you remember in past episodes, when they fly the drones up, they get up between 750 and 1,000 feet is when things go wonky. And they think that there's some magnetic anomaly in that area that causes this, but they don't understand it. So, as they're flying up, they cross over 750, and the drone operators say they've lost all communications at 800 feet. They kept pushing up as the way the drones were set, and at 1,000 feet, they got back communications. And they all said, yeah, it's that anomaly between 750 and 1,000 feet. As they're doing this, and as they push through that zone, here's the 4 drones right here. There's this monitoring drone right here. All of a sudden, this monitoring drone gets pushed away from this group as though it had no control. Now there's no wind. It just gets pushed. And the operator of this drone says, whoa, I don't know what just happened. And that was when they were at 2,500 feet. And this was just a test flight. The show goes on their first break. They come back and all 4 of the drones fell out of the sky at 2,500 feet. Actually, they said it was just above 3,000 feet that it happened. And interestingly, the 4 drones in the formation, they fell out of the sky. The one drone that got pushed out of the way wasn't affected. And they commented about that. So was this drone pushed out of the way so that it wouldn't be affected like these others were? That's what they were wondering. So they fell at 3,271 feet, and they were trying to understand if that had some importance. They stated that something disarmed the drones. That was the language they used. Something tampered with the flight, per the flight logs that were communicated in the drones. They kept saying, where did that command come from? What ordered that? Eric said, this is an interesting wording. He goes, it's like the drones got a kill command from somewhere. And you're thinking of the drones flying, and you have them crash to the ground. I guess it's like killing them, yeah. The owner of the company, I know he's sitting there thinking, oh, this isn't good. Each drone probably costs him wholesale maybe $600-700. These things are not cheap. And depending on how they crashed, some of it might be recoverable, might be usable again, I don't know. I mean, we've used drones in every movie. We've had crash drones before. Sometimes we can recover them and get them usable again, and sometimes you can't. It just depends. Well, the owner says, okay, before we decide about anything else, we'll send 4 more up and see what happens with them. We're not doing the 100 right now. Well, there's a wise owner. So they line up the 4, and they launch round 2. So the monitoring drone is also launched, same situation. 4 drones here, monitoring drone here, and they get launched up. They're trying to go through 3,200 feet. and all 4 came down again. Eric said again it was a kill command was given. And he said it's obvious that we found another anomaly at 3,271 feet. Each of the drones that came down had monitoring devices in them that were recovered, and they were studying those. They canceled the rest of the night. They canceled the 100 drones. And 2 days later, Travis is back in the command center feeling better. And again, they kept talking about that monitoring drone getting pushed away as these 4 were pushed down. So I think, why would the entity do that? It's obvious that it has a power to push, crash, interfere with electronics, deprogram software. Once you start to think about the ability that this thing has, it's amazing. Now, people say, oh, you know, I know that there's some people out there going, oh yeah, this was all fabricated. You're insane. You're insane. Here's why. If that was all fabricated, it didn't make for a real good show. The real good show was going to be the 100 drones, and that never happened. So, no, if I was going to fabricate something, I would have done it with 100 drones, and I don't mean crashing them. I would have made something a lot more interesting. But that never happened. And nobody who owns their own company that its specialty is flying drones in formation would allow this to happen to them under a hoax situation. That's pure stupidity. So, interestingly, the crew had a camera on the ground looking straight up at the formation as it took off with the monitoring drone on the side. And as you're looking up at the drones and you see these 4, you can see this one quickly get pushed to the side. And it leaves almost a light trail because it gets pushed so fast. So they go to a break. Now Travis and Eric, I don't care what you think of them, but I'm going to tell you, they're super smart men. Super smart. If I had to pick a team, they'd be on it. I guarantee it. And Travis came back from the break and said, what could have pushed that drone? We're looking at it. There's nothing there. There's no wind. What pushed it? And he said before those 4 fell, it seemed like that one was pushed out of the way so it wouldn't crash. And then the 4 veered to the south and fell. And then they said that something overrode those 4 drones' programming. And then Eric, they were in the command center, has high-speed photography on all the time, on all these. One frame on that high speed shows the 4 and the 1, and way off to the side, there's one light in one frame. And then it's gone. And that happened right before they fell. So first of all, what got up there? What was it? What was its purpose? And how did they know to be there when all of this started to happen? So they said that in the last several meetings they've talked about using a Doppler radar. Doppler radar is used in weather forecasting, predominantly used around tornadoes and tornado tracking. And it tracks water droplets in the sky. That's predominantly how it works. So they want to bring in a super high-end Doppler radar system. And they bring in Dr. Karen Kasiba and two other PhDs in this monster semi with a huge radar system on it. And they really thought this through, and I think it was a heck of an idea. Since there was no rain in the forecast, they were going to set up these bottles, put aluminum shavings inside the bottles with a little parachute, and drop these from a helicopter above the blob, have the Doppler radar track it, and see where it happened when it was dropped right over the blob. Now, they bring out the Doppler, it gets set up. They're going to drop these parachutes. Cameron, the owners of the facility's brother who owns the helicopter system, he flies out. Late at night, that first night, they shoot a rocket just to see if it's picked up by the Doppler radar, and it was. It looked kind of cool. Travis is in the truck, two PhDs, two meteorologist PhDs that read the Doppler. Rockets launched by Caleb. They saw the rocket on radar. And then, very interestingly, they see a yellow streak almost above the triangle where Caleb and Thomas are standing, near the bubble. And it looks long and elongated on the radar. And Travis is in the truck with the two PhDs, and they're looking at the screen, and they see this thing. And they're talking by radio to the guys out there. They don't see anything. And they said, well, it's right above you. Then it's moving to the east, and then it's moving this way, and it's moving that way. They go, hey, we don't see anything. Mistake number one. They should have had their FLIR drone expert right there for this exact circumstance. Put the drone up and see if the FLIR picks up this long, elongated thing. They didn't have him there. I don't know why they didn't have him there, but he wasn't there. It would have been outstanding to see if the FLIR could pick up a heat signature on this long, elongated thing. It is obviously something because the Doppler radar is picking it up, but you can't see it. Now remember, I've told you before, our eyes can only see in a small little spectrum. But just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. I heard a great analogy about this the other day. You know when you're listening to your transistor radio out by the pool, and you have your favorite rock station on and you're listening. Well, you know that rock station is playing right there, and it's there, and it's transmitting. But just because you're not listening to CNN, MSNBC, on the other radio stations, that doesn't mean they aren't there. Just because you can't hear it right then and there, but you turn the dial and you listen at a different level, then you can hear that radio wave. The same thing with eyesight. You and I can see in this spectrum that's pretty narrow, but that doesn't mean that there's all these things around you that you can't see. Think about it. So, Travis says, wow, that was one heck of a test. I mean, we saw it on the radar, this long, thin thing, but the guys on the ground didn't see anything. And I wrote my notes. Why isn't the FLIR drone up? A minute later, after they saw it, it was gone. That long, thin, yellow thing. The next day, Cameron shows up in his helicopter, and he puts one of his employees, hangs out the side of the helicopter on one side, and Pete Kelsey hangs out the helicopter on the other side. And in front of them, they've got a box with all these little bottles that have a little parachute, and they fling it out the side of the helicopter while it's going to be right above the blob. And then the idea is that that truck and the Doppler is going to pick up how these things fall. Cameron's going to make several passes above the bubble. The first time they're going to fly at 750 or 1,000. 750 to 1,000 feet. First thing they're going to do is make sure everything's okay with the truck. They launch a rocket. The truck picks up the rocket, good to go. The helicopter takes off, flies and hovers right over the triangle at 1,000 feet, and the guys throw the bottles. Surprisingly, not one bottle out of 100 lands inside the bubble area. It falls out of the helicopter, and then it gets pushed off to the sides. Cameron does pass number 2. Goes to 2,500 feet. They made a specific point to say, there's no wind, folks. They should drop straight down. All Eric and Travis both said it. They fly up to 2,500. The guys hang out the side of the helicopter, throw out 100 bottles over the triangle, all pushed to the outside of the bubble. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. You can't see the bubble, just like you couldn't see that long yellow thing. But it's obvious it's there. A couple years ago, I made a recommendation. Nobody listens to me. When I was a kid, I worked for my dad. My dad built swimming pools. I was the guy, when I was young, who did all of the dirt work, all the back-breaking work. Paid me really well. And then sometimes when a pool wasn't acting right, I knew everything about a pool. If he built a pool and it wasn't cleaning right or something, he'd send me out there to problem solve. A lot of time the people weren't backwashing the filter, so I'd go out and backwash it, use diatomaceous earth. And diatomaceous earth is this white powder. It's made out of seashells and things like that. It's lighter than flour. That's what it would remind you of, flour. It's white. My recommendation? Fly up above the blob and drop this. It's almost lighter than air. I mean, it'll fall. And see if that will land over the bubble. No one listened to me. Nobody cares. I'm nobody. Just a recommendation. So anyhow, they fly at 2,500 feet. Nothing falls inside the bubble. It all falls to the outside. Travis says this doesn't follow any logic that he knows of. Each of those little bottles had GPS inside. They went out and they were going to recover all those bottles. The last round, they went to 3,500 feet. Again, they dropped them all outside. They first launched a rocket, went to 5,000 feet. It was perfect. Cameron dropped the bottles. Seen on Doppler, all of the bottles seemed to be pushed south. No one went inside the bubble. Now, this is the most fascinating part of everything about this later part of the show. And I think it was supposed to be a sneak preview of next week, but they kept playing the show. So Cameron drops the bottles, turns the helicopter around, makes a sweep to go back towards the command center and land the helicopter and get the guys off. As he's swinging back around, Pete Kelsey and Cameron, the pilot, go, hey, look down. the cameraman in the helicopter looks down and they pick up some kind of orb or UAP, I couldn't tell by looking at it, flying just above the treetops where they were going inside to land, right in the same area. And then they cut it off. A couple people said, hey, was that another drone? No, it was not another drone, they said. And obviously if it was, that would not be good with a helicopter flying into that area. The point being, folks, there's so much about our world we really don't know. I've seen UAPs, orbs, too many times to count. They are out there. I think they allow us to see them sometimes. And what I mean by that, if you've been a long-time watcher of Skinwalker, they'll be watching an orb or a UAP and then all of a sudden it shuts itself off and you can't see it anymore. In my humble opinion, I think they are turned on so you can see them. Why? I have no idea. But it's when they turn themselves off that I really want to know what they're doing. I think the guys did a really good job on this show. They did a couple things that were outside the box, things they haven't done before. I like the Doppler radar very much. I realize that they're in an area where it doesn't rain much, but my question would be, if it did rain real hard, is that area under the bubble being watered, or does the bubble push the rain away? They've never addressed that. They've never talked about it on the show. My guess is, for whatever reason, the rain gets through to the grass stays green like the rest of the area, but I don't know. I greatly appreciate you being here. There's real science going on here. And I appreciate that Cameron Fugal is allowing the guys to work, because it's an insight you'll never probably have again on TV. Yeah, true. So, kindness. When I was in Gatlinburg this last weekend, everyone said, Dave, there are few people out there that are talking about being kind to people. And we really appreciate the reminder that you give us from time to time. So thank you. And mental health, keep talking about it, Dave. Well, everyone has their time with mental health issues. Everybody does. If somebody says he doesn't, they're lying to you. But the sun will rise tomorrow. There's a possibility of brighter days on the horizon. Be kind to your family, friends. Remember, you can't pick your family. You can only pick your friends. Be safe. Paulides out.